Wanderers and Crypt Dancers, author A.L. Mengel here. I am heading to the Orlando Public Library in downtown Orlando, Florida for the book festival. The Orlando Public Library was founded in 1985. Go. Getting into the book festival. This should be good. Mona Lisa becoming a ghost was accepted by this library. These prints were donated by Honorable Glenda Hood, Secretary of the State of Florida. This little tidbit about the Orlando Ballet is cool. My book, Ballet of the Crypt Dancer, was dedicated to my sister, who is a point ballerina. Here's some Ballet of the Crypt Dancer history. This church here inspired the Jefferson Majestic Theater in Ballet of the Crypt Dancer. Wow, this is something that I filmed for the trailer for Ballet of the Crypt Dancer. Right here, this sculpture right here. Taking a little break from the book festival while I wait for the keynote speaker, and I happen to be on the same plaza, which has a little bit of haunted history. Back in 2021, I filmed the chapter Ted Bundy and the Highway to Hell. You can watch it on the Haunted playlist. And it's right here. The Orlando History Center used to be the courthouse, and the courtroom is there, where Ted Bundy carved his name into the table, and he's said to haunt this building. I tell the story on Haunted. This library is more than just a library. They even have classes in the fiber arts. It's kind of neat. It's not something that I do. I know a lot of people do. So that's pretty awesome. You can do something like this right here.
then you need to read a book written by a Black Southern writer. Dubbed by the Los Angeles Times, a bard of the modern South, Tayari Jones confronts issues of race, family, and criminal justice reforms in her novels. Her latest, the instant New York Times bestseller, An American Marriage, is an Oprah's book club selection and also appeared on Barack Obama's summer reading list as well as his year-end roundup. The novel was awarded the Women's Prize for Fiction, Aspen Words Prize, and an NAACP Image Award. Jones, a member of the Fellowship of Southern Writers, has also been a recipient of the Hurston Wright Legacy Award, United States Artist Fellowship, Guggenheim Fellowship, NEA Fellowship, and Radcliffe Institute Bunting Fellowship. Her third novel, Silver Sparrow, was added to the NEA Big Read Library of Classics in 2016. Our keynote speaker for this afternoon. Please put your hands together for Tayari Jones.
For coming out on a Saturday to talk about books. You know, people always tell you that no one reads anymore, that, you know, the books are over. You know, they tell you that, I don't know, that AI or Kindle is going to come and drown you in the bathtub. And I feel like if you're black, they're like, oh, racist Kindle is going to drown you in the bathtub. But I believe in reading, and I believe in reading more than ever, because I woke up this morning unsure if I would be able to read today. Because about a year ago, I was diagnosed with Graves' disease. It's named after Thomas Grave. I told my doctor they should call it Thomas's disease, because nobody wants your doctor to tell you anything with the word grave in it. But it affects your eyesight. It affects your eyesight, and sometimes my vision is blurry, I see double, and I cannot read. And as a lifelong reader, to suddenly find myself unable to read was just, it shook me in a way that I would not have anticipated. And I'm a person that tries to figure out, okay, well, what does this mean? What is God trying to tell me with this experience? And so, being as I would open a book and I would just see symbols that I couldn't decipher, I became very interested in the issue of reading and how many adult Americans cannot read. And what would it be if all the time when I looked at a sign, I didn't know what it was. When I looked at a book, I didn't know what it was saying. And I got very interested in that issue. But I felt like God was like, that's all, that's it, that's all, this whole experience, that's all you have is the question of, and then I thought about people who have, you know, low vision, who can't see anything. And I thought about, well, what can I do to help with that? And I thought maybe that's what I meant to focus on, but I felt like God again was like, I think you can do that. Young people really depend on libraries and schools to find books. But I've always felt like me as a grown person, you know, you can't stop me from going to a bookstore. You know, like it would be hard to ban a book from a grown person. And so I think I felt kind of insulated from that issue. But then when I had all this trouble with my eyes and I felt like the books that were in my own library were vanishing before my very eyes, because, you know, God was like, hello, you're a writer, you're a person with metaphor. And so I've been thinking a lot about how important it is that we fight to save our books and how important they are. I feel so frustrated on the days when I can't read. So I just wanted to start off by just thinking about that, and for us all to think about what we can do to save books, and that we all are going to have to find out, like if a book is kept from you, you won't know it because you didn't know the book was there, right? Like you can't fight for what you don't know is there. So we all are going to have to put forth a little extra effort to find out what books are out there, because the means by which we depend on finding out about books, that pipeline is breaking down, and it's up to us to stand in the gap. My parents did not think this was a great idea. They said, well, can't you just write on the weekends or something? They said, why don't you just go and get a PhD and become an English teacher, and you can write on the long summer break. And I heard what they were saying, and it hurt my heart because I felt like they didn't believe that I was good enough to be a writer. And so I went and I started working on the PhD. And I was so unhappy. It was because it was as though I was a bird and I was being trained to be a bird watcher. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to let my parents down. I was in graduate school in the state of Iowa, which, you know, means that I was unique amongst my peers. And I did not want to leave that program and run the risk of ruining it for everyone who would come later, right? You know, you have that weight on you. So I was there and I was trying to be my best little English teacher to be, and I was just so unhappy, and I wrote a letter to my teacher from college, to Pearl, and I wrote her a long letter. It was about 4 pages, front and back, all my feelings, all my desires, I didn't want to disappoint anyone, all of this. And she wrote back a postcard that said, "Your life is just that, it is yours." Wherever you are, if you are writing, if you're putting your pen to the page, or if you're me, rolling a paper and typewriter, you are, in fact, a writer. You need to write frequently. You don't have to write daily. I feel that when we tell people they have to write every day, people who have lives feel they cannot be writers. People who work, people who take care of children, people who take care of elders, people who do all kinds of amazing, important things do not have time to write every day. But the very thing that keeps you from writing every day is what is going to make your work meaningful. So instead of thinking of your life as an impediment to your writing, think of it as a superpower for your writing. If you write a page a day, you have a book in a year. If you write a page every other day, you have a book in 2 years. Yes, it will take you longer to write your book than someone who spends all day in their pajamas. But frankly, I don't want to read a book by somebody who spends all day in their pajamas. I don't want to read no pajama book. I want to read books by people like you who are in the world, who are doing the thing, who are making the world a better place. I want your book to be only one of the things you do to improve the world. Thank you.
Wow, what an inspiring keynote speaker. You know, writers complain all the time about life getting in the way of your writing, but I think the takeaway and the message is that life is what fuels your writing. So, thank you for watching. Thank you for following me, reading my books, and see you on the page.